Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special presentation tonight. We're going to tell you more about what we first emailed you about last week, about our permanent home project. This is a meeting that I have been waiting for years. I couldn't be more excited than I am. We have a great team of people here that will take us through what's been going on, what our rationale is, all sorts of data and information about where we're going. Next slide. Tonight we have a number of items on the agenda here. We're gonna start by sort of reminding you about what our current situation is, what the current context is. We're going to talk a little bit about our current and future relationship with the JCC, where we're standing tonight. We're going to then introduce our partners on this ambitious project that we've begun. We'll introduce the project leadership team. We'll do a little bit of a geographic overview of where our families live today. We'll get some really exciting views of our future campus, some great early drawings from our architecture firm, and we'll talk about what they've been thinking about and the data that they're pulling in order to design our future home. We'll hear about what the state is of education in the Rainier Valley and what it means to have an urban campus. We have someone with some extra special experience that'll share with us tonight. And then finally, we'll talk about the design process and the timeline for execution, and we'll leave some time for Q&A. So lots to cover tonight. Next slide. The first thing I want to do is just sort of level set where things stand. This is an aerial picture of our current location and our current properties that the school owns. So you may all recall that the French American School owns a building on leased land. We've leased that land from the JCC, and it's been a great relationship over 20 years. We've had just an enormous amount of work that the two institutions have done together. And that's led us to the thriving school that we have today. In addition to that, we have purchased several properties over the years that are adjacent to the JCC property, right off 40th Street here on Mercer Island. From 2013 through to 2017, we deployed just under $5 million of cash in order to build up property that we'd hoped to use in our permanent home. And the great news is we've just had that property reassessed, and we now think it's worth around $10 million. So it's been a really positive investment for us, and it's really helped us achieve our goals over the years. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide, and I'll catch you up on what we've been up to here. So with that in mind, a very high priority on all of our strategic, on our last strategic plan, and really the last couple, has been locking down our permanent home plan. Because we're on leased land, we still don't feel like we control our own destiny until we get to a place where we really own our property outright. And so that's really what this process has been about. The board has been working on this for a long time, including back in 2011 and 2012, where you see we created a capital acquisition reserve that was designed for exactly this kind of capital outlay. Throughout 2013 to 17, we purchased the land that I talked about. In 2015, the Board of Trustees approved a vision for FASPS that included conducting a feasibility study for the potential launch of a bilingual French-American high school. And that's something that's been high on our minds through this process. And then our current strategic plan, which we adopted in 2016, included plans for finalizing a campus master plan. And that strategic planning process led us through a process where we defined our guiding principles, we related them to our mission and our vision and our values to think about the kind of program that we want to deliver to the community in the coming years. We, of course, assessed and appraised our current real estate portfolio, very recently reappraised, and we investigated options for how we can develop on the parcel of land that we own today. We obviously created a whole set of enrollment projections, short-term, mid, and long-term, looking around the Puget Sound region at the demand for bilingual education and for the unique brand of hybrid French and American education that we provide here. We looked at our space needs, our current space, and our projected needs of space in light of where we wanted to take the program. We built a process to identify not just the real estate that we already owned, but other options for where we could build the program in order to really be thorough about this investigation. And finally, we began a capital campaign feasibility study. All of this hard work that the Board of Trustees and the administration have gone through over the past few years. And like I said at the top, it's led us to an incredibly exciting place, which you're going to hear about now. And so with that little bit of background, I want to introduce Eric Tuot, who's going to take us through the next steps of this plan. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you very much, Steve. So as you said, it's been a long journey, and actually probably even more than 10 years, because I would like to thank not only, our current board, our current community, but all our former trustees, community members who helped us to be where we are right now. So thank you so much to all of you. So as you mentioned, Steve, our search was quite long, and so we kept always in mind that we wanted to stay around. Our first choice was Mercer Island, as you certainly remember, and that's why we purchased this land. Unfortunately, we were not able to build on this land. So we were talking with the city in order to convert this residential zone into a community facility zone. And so that didn't work. So that when we realized that we needed to explore other options, for which we've been very active during the last 2 to 3 years. So we wanted really to make sure that the place that we would find would be along the I-90 corridor from Seattle to Issaquah, and you will see the map in a moment, but also making sure that we would be able to house the entire program on this piece of land, including a potential high school, as Steve alluded to. So as you know, we talk about the lease that is supposed to expire in 2029 with an option in 2026. So we wanted to make sure that we would control our destiny. So next slide, please, on which you will see our search area. Can we move to the next slide? Okay, here we go. So that's, as you can see, it's pretty wide. And so I've noticed as I was looking at this slide that if you see this part, on I-90 bridge, we didn't plan on having a floating school. It would have been cool though, and very unique, but so that's just to give you an idea of the area of our research. Let's move to the next slide, please. So having this very important relationship with the J, as you know, has been instrumental. And so we've been here for 20 plus years. We came to the island in 1999. Initially, we were in portable buildings. And then we built the school that we are in 2004, and then 2008 for the second floor. So this partnership with the J has been extremely, extremely successful, and we are so thankful for this partnership. So as you can see here, we wanted to work together, and so when we were about to build this school, our permanent home on this piece of land next to the J, so we worked collaboratively with the J. But again, since we had to explore for more options, so that's where we decided to look at other areas. So as the title of this presentation, Controlling Our Destiny and Execute Our Full Potential, is definitely what guided our decision-making process. So one thing that is important is that we, at this point, we may continue to keep a presence on Mercer Island. So we'll see how it goes, and so that might be beyond 2024, 2025. depending upon the, our progress and what transpires between now and then. So next slide, please. So who are our partners? So you see this beautiful map of France. And so the reason why for that is the French government is very supportive of us. Over the years, we are an accredited French school. And as such, we benefit from a lot of benefits like grants, for example. So during the pandemic, we received significant grants from the French government. But as we are talking about building our permanent home, so the French government will be able to help us to accomplish that in other ways. So one is to potentially give us a grant, so we'll apply for it. The other important thing that we can benefit from is the French government loan guarantee, which is a program that exists since 1971. And so we have a network of 500 plus French accredited schools worldwide. And so each of them has the possibility when they want to renovate or build a school to ask for the French government loan guarantee, which makes it very appealing when it is time to go to banks and ask for loans. That's quite powerful. So we will apply to get this loan guarantee. I have personally some experience doing that. When I was in Austin International School, we were successful at that. So I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to do that again. And so the commission is coming up in July. So Spectrum Development Solution is a very important partner in making us building a permanent home. So Jake McKinstry and Michelle Ocean, who are here. So Jake is a current parent at the school and a former trustee. So knew perfectly well that we were looking for a permanent home. And so when a piece of land that met all our criteria came, so he shared that with us and so partnered with us. So Jake and his team will help us to develop this project. So they will be our development manager. So first of all, thank you so much, Spectrum, for helping us to accomplish this important goal. Malin is the architect firm that we selected. We spent a full month, I think it was the month of April. It sounds like a year ago, but no, it was just last month. And so we had a lot of interest from architect firms for our project. And we conducted this very thorough search. And it became very evident that Malin was the best partner for us to develop this school. So thank you so much for the great work you've already done and that you will present more in a few minutes. So next slide, please. So you will see everyone here. Everyone, the project leadership team, so that's the core team, but obviously we have many other people involved in this project. So you already saw Steve, our board chair, Susan, our CEO, CFO, Christiana Payne, and Peter Eagle are the real estate committee co-chairs. Pat Cutlin, our board treasurer, who was previously board chair when I started in 2010 from 2012. And Susan, by the way, was also board chair for 5 years. And here we have the team from Spectrum, Jake and Michelle, and Malin with Corey, Anne, Nikki, and Angeli Rance. So thank you so much to all of you for being involved in this important project for our school. So next slide, please. So this is a map that you already saw in our, I think it was in this, there was a link in our standalone email this past week. So where you can see how spread our community is, and that's quite unique. Our strategic plan consultant made this study for us and came back by saying, this is impressive to see again how your community is all over. So I hope you could see, the dot where you are. And so the good thing is that thanks to our fleet of buses, we are able to help our families to come to and from our school. So now let's take a look at another view of our current campus and our future campus. So as you can see, it's 9 minutes drive. It's not that much. And Michelle came on the way here and told me, actually, it's 8 minutes. So I didn't have time to redo the slide. So 9-10 minutes, we'll call it good. So it's pretty close, which meets a very important criteria that we shared with you earlier. So next slide, please, where you can see an aerial view. So just another view of seeing that it's pretty close. So now we'll just give you a better idea of the neighborhood. So you will see here on this slide that we are not the first independent school to come to this area. And I will be very delighted to introduce to you John Borgard, who was the pioneer here with Ameline Robinson School. So we're the first ones to come. And so they're building now a wonderful middle school that I'm sure you could see if you passed along. So there are two other schools, the Giddens and Lake Washington Girls Schools, that are actually sharing a campus. So two schools under the same roof, which is quite an interesting concept. And the Seattle Girls School, which, by the way, Malum was working with them on this project. So it's a very dynamic area, rapidly changing area, and very convenient. As you can see, there is the Judkins Park Sound Transit Station that will open soon. And there is another station south we are pretty much 10 minutes away, walking distance. So I'm sure you could see that the address where we are is the red square, rectangle actually. Okay, next slide, please. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jake from Spectrum.
Thank you, Eric. Good night, everyone. Hello, bonsoir. We're really, really excited about this property. As Eric mentioned, having been on the board and chairing the real estate committee, I'm walking over here now, and we're good. Bonsoir. Yeah, so knowing exactly what the French School is looking for, and it's really, really hard, as Eric said, obviously, having been on the board, and I appreciate all the work that the board and the administration's put into trying to find the right site to stay in the community. And it's really hard. So you're trying to find a site that has the right zoning, the right development capacity, and potential for future growth, which I'm sure Eric and you'll hear from Malum, but all those things came together in trying to find this site. And so it was an opportunity that we saw, and we thought it would be a great partnership with the French School. So we're so delighted to be here at this point. And my colleague Michelle is here tonight too, and we'll be leading our development efforts. But as you can see, it's right off of 23rd and Rainier. The site's just over 50,000 square feet. It's zoned commercial, which allows for a school use, 75 feet in height. So it's got a lot of development capacity. And as Eric said, this whole area has really turned into a really kind of innovation district for schools, independent schools. There's a lot of really great things that are happening. So all those kind of factors came together to make this the really exciting fit. And with that, I'm going to turn over to the Malum team, and we'll talk a little bit more about the vision and all the exciting opportunities with this site.
Hello. Just a quick introduction to Malum. We are truly thrilled to work with you to envision and build your new home. As we have only just begun to get to know your community, we see a strong alignment in vision and values, and that commitment to cultivating and strengthening community, not only of your own, but of the surrounding community. The commitment to really affecting the trajectory of future generations, both locally and globally. As a firm, we focus on human-centered design, on spaces focused on healing and learning and living. And again, just seeing this as a tremendous opportunity to partner with you to envision this new home. So tonight, we are excited to just share some of the ideas that we have begun to think about as we imagine that with you.
Thanks, Corey. I'm Ann Schupf, and I'm a design principal on the project. And in preparation For the interview, we spent a lot of time investigating the site and thinking about how to put a campus that would envision a future from tiny YPK all the way up to 12th graders within that development potential that Jake spoke about. And, you know, thinking about how you build in an urban campus and still afford to have open space, we thought about how to build densely so that we could keep open space for activities, outdoor activities, play fields, some nature-based play, but most importantly also those porches, those places of greeting and welcoming that really make the school a home and a community to you and your families. So that place of meeting and greeting, a welcoming front door will be important as we develop the project moving forward. Next slide. So we're leveraging, you know, our expertise in pre-K to 12 educational design and thinking about designing a school that will really address multiple scales and types of learning. So here you can see outdoor learning, really play-based, looking at water play, and those unique learning spaces are both inside and outside. So we'll be looking at leveraging the site broadly to include education and discovery at all levels. Next slide. So there should be, of course, multiple scales of learning, both very intimate to large gatherings such as this, to support both collaboration and differentiation. And that really allows us to engage more learner types in a variety of environments and all those differing sizes, and give teachers a unique way to meet all the learners and all the children where they're at and what they need. So some of this shows transparency. Oh, yeah, stay there. Transparency, really inviting collaboration between students and staff to staff, right? And so the collaboration facilitates that cross-pollination, interdisciplinary work, and really results in the opportunity to flex over the course of the day and over the life of the building. Many of the schools that we have shown you were located in urban environments. We've done schools in Seattle and Portland. We're really able to achieve all of that on a dense site. And I'm going to turn it over to Corey and Anjali to just talk a little bit about the challenges of urban sites and what we've done just next door on those neighboring sites that Jake pointed out.
Hi, I'm Anjali Grant. I actually worked on the Giddens School and Lake Washington Girls Middle School, and there are so many similarities between your campus and theirs. One of the words that you spoke about was kind of determining your own destiny, and that was something that was a very similar feeling and impetus for these two schools. They were also inhabiting rented spaces, in this case owned by the Archdiocese, and having their own campus was incredibly important to them. A couple of similarities to the sites themselves. They are urban sites. The neighborhood I know well. They were welcoming to a school. There are always challenges around parking and where that's going to happen, but generally it was supported by the neighborhood. It's a steep site, so that is a challenge, but it is a solvable one. And you have the obligation, but also the opportunity to create your own right-of-way. So how the street and the neighborhood weaves into your campus is something that you actually have ownership of. So I'm pleased to be able to share all of those lessons from that school and also to make introductions, because those folks have made a lot of connections to the community, and there are a lot of good organizations out there to connect to.
And as Eric mentioned, we are nearly complete with Seattle Girls School. It will be open in the fall. And we have the opportunity to work with Joan on our design steering committee. And like Anjali shared, a lot of lessons learned and great opportunities to learn from on this campus. Similar, they are currently in modular leased buildings, and so finding their permanent home was a huge impact to really making it so the built environment really supports their curriculum. Finding that right balance of porous boundaries. They really were looking for strong connections to the neighboring parks, the Northwest African American Museum to the north, but really also wanting to provide that sense of safety. And similar, as Anjali mentioned, parking and finding that balance and working through the traffic. And then we also began the project actually with a master plan. So we actually planned it out with 3 phases. The initial one focused on the educational spaces, then the second phase bringing on a gym, and then the third phase to actually provide additional capacity. I'll hand it over to Anne.
Yeah, and I'll just finish up talking briefly about Jazz Ed, which is just to the north of the Lake Washington Girls School and Giddens, and that is underneath some workforce housing, and it is an after-school music program. But what's unique about it is that they've created this large performing space on the ground floor, and it's fronted by a cafe that opens out onto the street. So really thinking about engaging in the community and holding community events, music events that can spill out with large garage doors onto the sidewalk. So I think there's a real change in the neighborhood very rapidly that will, it's not necessarily what you see today on the street, but really what is just coming around the corner that's really, really exciting. And the role that the French American School will play in that transformation is truly inspirational. So we look forward to taking that journey with you.
Next slide, please. So our design process will really begin with listening and learning with all of you. As we launch this really exciting project, we're going to spend, first off, a full day on site this week, observing and watching how the school functions and learning from that process. We'll work with the FASPS faculty and staff in focus groups and exercises like what you see over on the right here, this spatial relationship activity, to understand what we're going to build and how those spaces work together. And we'll connect with students, maybe even partnering on projects with them in class to understand their insightful ideas and inspirations. And very importantly, we'll connect with you in the FAST community and the families to listen and learn about what can help us create a welcoming school and amplify the multicultural vision of this campus. For those engagements, we'll meet you where you are. And so there's going to be opportunities to meet in person during convenient times. So that might be after drop-off or before pickup, but we'll also make virtual opportunities, which, as you can see on the bottom left here, has been an opportunity on past projects to really connect in unique ways and share family heirlooms during the call. And I think we'll be making a sign-up sheet available online and in person to start participating in those events. So we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you very much, Nikki, and the team for Mailum, did a great job. And I would like to call on stage also Joan Borgar, a special guest, because as I alluded to her earlier, she's been the pioneer in this area, and so Joan and her board and her team had the vision, to build Emmeline Robinson School where it is now. And so I would like Joan just to share with us how independent schools are thriving in the Rainier Valley. And just for you to know, Joan Borgar has been a very valuable member of our community because she's been trustee at FASP for more than, I've been here a long time ago. So in two different periods, right? So if you accumulate the number of years at the board, I think it's 18 years. So thanks so much, Joan.
Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you this evening, and it's my pleasure to serve on the board. As Eric has said, I've been on the board for a while, and it's a wonderful group of very dedicated people for a very important mission of our school. So my background is such that I have been a head of school. My last position was the head of Hamlin Robinson School, which you saw on the map. We were a school for about 30 years and never owned their own facility. So when I came to the school, I'm a firm believer if you don't own your own facility, you don't own your own destiny. And so shortly after I started at Hamlin Robinson School, we started looking for property, and we were very fortunate to find the property, which is the former Oberto site. So if you drive down there, you'll see. And we looked at that site for several reasons, and the same reasons that French American School has selected this site is one, the convenience to both the east side and Seattle. Literally, I live on the north end of Mercer Island, and I can walk over to that area, walk over the bridge. Not that I do it that often, I only do it on days that it doesn't rain and in the summer. But also, it's very easy for transportation. As Eric said, we will have 3 stations not far from the school, one up on the top of the hill and one just south of the school and north of the school. And the new station that's going in is the main station for going east and west. So you have to think about the easy commute for our families, but you also have to think about the easy access for staff and faculty to be at the school. Now, I'm going to jump ahead and say that when we first moved to that area and started looking at that area, and that was about 6 years ago, we did have some people that were worried about they had questions about safety, and we did a lot of research on that area, and we actually found that it was a safer area than where our school had been, which was previously at the TT Minor site on Capitol Hill. And our school has been there we've been in the building for 5 years and have had no challenges. And it's not any different than anywhere we live, to tell you the truth, Mercer Island or the east side. So I'm very, very happy that we're going to be going there. I think it has great access, not only for families and staff, but it's going to be a great location for students, especially when we get to a high school age or middle school, because students will be taking I can see students taking light rail, as will our faculty and staff. So if you have any questions, you can ask and we'll talk later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joan. So next slide, please. So I'm going to ask Jake to be back on stage, our development manager, to go through the timeline.
Thank you, Eric. So schedule-wise, the thing in Seattle is it takes some time for us to get through the permit process. And as Malum said, and by the way, I just want to say we're so excited to have Malum as our architect partner and design partner on this. They are just a fantastic firm. So I'm really excited for all of you to get a chance to engage with them because, as they said, they want to start by listening, learning about the culture of the school, the program, and all that's really important to do the right way on the front end because that leads into our design process. And we want to have a smooth design process because it'll take us some time to get through that and get through the entitlements and get our building permit for the school as well as our land use approval. And there's a lot of really important things to think about with the site in terms of planning for this phase as well as a potential future phase, as Eric said. So that's going to be a big element of what we do and what we start with. So if you look at it, even though it feels far away, we really need to be starting now. And so all of your help and support and providing input is going to be so important because we want to get through design this year in 2023, have our entitlements ready to go by the end of 2023, and hopefully be in a position to break ground in the first quarter of 2024. And if we do that the right way, we'll be in a position to finish the project and open up the doors in the third quarter, kind of summer, early fall of 2025 in time for the 2025-2026 school year. And as I can share with you and I share with others, my daughter Chloe will be in 8th grade that year. So I have a lot of pressure at home if I don't meet that schedule personally. There's a lot on the line here. So we all have to work together. You got to help me to get to there. So that's our schedule. So it feels far out, but actually this is, for City of Seattle, this is a pretty compressed timeline. There's a lot to do. So our team is fantastic and really, really excited to roll up the sleeves and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. So let's talk about how we get there now. Financing will be definitely an important factor. So one question that we said is, will tuition will increase significantly because of this project. So we want to be clear that tuition is, pays for our annual operating budget. So how we are going to finance this project is through 3 different levers. One is fundraising and any future capital campaign. Our capital reserves that we started, as Steve alluded to it, like about 10 years ago. And the new family fee actually goes directly to this reserve. And obviously also by having some debt financing. So there are several options out there. So we are looking at all of them right now. So I think we communicated with you that we will be closing by the 28th of September. So we have time and we are using it well. So again, as I referred earlier about the architect search, we have a lot of financial partners who are interested in our project, which is great. So I talked already about the loan guarantee from the French government, so that's going to be definitely a huge plus. And as I said, we are just now looking at all the options from bank and financial institutions. So next slide, please. Here we go. I forgot it was the last slide. So we are here now all for you. If you have questions, so I know that many of you are online. So I don't know who will, I think Kyle, our Director of Communication, second row, will tell us if we have questions. So if you didn't hear it, so Kyle's saying that we have more than 70 people online, and we don't have questions online so far. So what facilities on the wait list? Oh, okay. So you mean like different components of the facilities, like a gymnasium or an auditorium or all of this? Okay, great question. Thank you. So I would like just first to refer to when we announced this news to our faculty and staff. I can tell you that the wish list started very quickly. And it became wild and very creative, actually. So thank you to all our colleagues for that, getting us started. So Malin took that, and so you're right that we will certainly need, and it's something we want to do, which is to partner with existing schools. We had this chance to have other independent schools in the neighborhood. And actually, since we released this news, I've been in touch with the heads of school of these schools who are very excited for us coming and to partner with them. So we have already some ideas of partnership, synergy. So I don't have the answers right now, but I can tell you that the will is there. And I look forward to looking into more of this. That's natural. Everybody wants the wish list. I mean, as I said earlier, tuition increase are for operational expenses. So this is not an operational expense. I mean, obviously, when we build our school, we'll need to run it. So it will have expenses associated with operating the new facilities, but not more than what we do now. Just to give you an example, we use this beautiful facility that we are in right now. The JCC, we use their pool, we use their auditorium, we use a lot of things, and we pay for it, right? So we'll need to see how we will balance that in our budget. But what we are talking today is about buying land and building on it, and this will be financed by the 3 levers that I talked about earlier. Financing, again, our capital reserves, and fundraising. So we'll need everyone for that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the last one, which was high school. So that's a question that comes very often. I know, and I appreciate the fact that our community wants more, wants to stick to this unique bilingual education that we provide and we've been providing for almost 30 years. It is something that we need to look at. We need to make the feasibility study. And that's what the board committed to. So to make a feasibility study by 2030. So we'll do that. Our most immediate priority, again, is to buy this land and to build a permanent home that will be able to house our current program. So I'm not saying that we'll need to wait until the very end of that to talk about the feasibility study. That can be happening concurrently, but we'll need to be conscious and cognizant of our resources and our bandwidth. So high school, the feasibility will come, but I don't have a date for you now.
Eric, there are several questions about security and how security protections, let's say, can be built into the campus. I'm not sure if that's an architect question, but several questions along those lines.
Yeah, so Kyle talked about security and safety and how we can respond to those concerns. I would like to start saying, first of all, thank you for that, because this is we share the same concern. We share the same priority. And you've been hearing that before the pandemic, but even more so during the pandemic. If you remember, in all our messages, we were saying, and we mean it, safety and security are number one. Then providing our program, our bilingual program, that's number two. We cannot provide any program and make our students thriving if safety and security are not on top of our list. So wherever we are, wherever we'll be, that's going to remain on top of the list. So certainly conversations will happen with everyone, with all our community members. As Jake alluded, we need your input. We need to hear from you. Our architects will work on that. We have the luxury, as I said earlier, to have neighbors who are schools. So they went through that, through this questioning, and so through this exercise, we'll certainly learn a lot from them and partner with them. So I don't know, I hope I answered the question.
Next question, there's a question about the high school, whether the actual facilities for the high school will be built straight away, even though we don't have a high school, or whether that will be a second phase construction.
So that's a good question too. That's one thing that was a requirement when we asked the architects to submit their bids and so their presentation, which was to make sure that they would plan for a high school, a potential high school, if we decided to build one. So yes, we are sure that we will be able to house a high school on the land that we are going to purchase. Now it's not going to happen right away. So we'll need first, as I said, to build for current program and do the feasibility study. And if the feasibility study concludes that, yes, we'll launch a high school, first of all, what kind of high school? So then we will be able to design this process the same way we'll be doing for the current program.
Next question, what will we do with the land we own on Mercer Island?
So the question is, what are we going to do with the land we own on Mercer Island? So as you know, our business is education. It's not real estate. Maybe it would get us more money, but that's not our business at all. And it's not our mission. So we purchased this land with the goal to build our school on it. We know now that it's not possible. So therefore, we will sell it ultimately at some point. The good thing so far is that in our interactions with banks, so we were not asked to sell our properties right away. So we don't have to sell it in a very rapid way. So then we wouldn't get the most out of it. But yes, at some point when the time will come and it's the best time, we'll sell these properties.
Can you look into your crystal ball and tell everybody where the buses will go, where our buses will go?
So Kyle is asking to look at my crystal ball. I have several in my office. And this one is about bus transportation and if I know which routes we'll have. So I don't even know next year. So, and it's a good thing though, because that means that Victoria and her team who are in charge of that are very flexible and are doing their all best all the time to accommodate our families based on their needs. So that will change and we'll adapt to it. And so again, we'll need your input. We'll need you to tell us where you're going to live, if you need the bus, how many days a year or the week. And in my conversation so far with the other heads of school around in this area, so that's a topic that came first. Actually, it was not safety or security, it was about busing. It was about, hey, there will be an initiative being done. I think that Seattle Girls School, Lake Washington Girls School, and Lynn Robinson will partner for the bus transportation in the fall. So we have a fleet of 5 and very soon 6 buses, thanks to everyone's generosity, and we were able to raise the fund we needed at the gala. So 6 buses that we will be able to put in the, in the pot. I cannot say that, but anyway, we'll share it.
Right now we have one last question, and the question is the purchase of this land a done deal, or are there still possibilities that it won't go through?
Until the very end, there are always things that can happen. We are planning to close by the 28th of September. So as you can imagine, we've done our due diligence to make sure, again, it's not 100%, it's very close to it, that we will be able to close on this land. As you can see, we are ready. We have the architect firm, we have our development manager, we have relationship with different banks, we have the French government that will help us. So I would say all the indicators are green, right? So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do it. But the closing will happen on the 28th of September. So please put that on your calendar and we'll, hopefully have a big party on that day.
Next question, we got another question. What about a swimming pool?
That was on the wish list too. And even a spa. But I don't know. I don't know. I think that, excuse me? Oh, thank you. Yes, Jake. Kyle's question or comments was, what about a swimming pool? So as you know, we have the chance now to have a swimming pool available at literally less than 5 minutes walking distance, and it's great. But I must say that it's quite unique for independent schools. I don't know other independent schools. Maybe John, you know some, but I don't know other independent schools who have a swimming pool that close. So I don't know. The answer is maybe yes. I don't want to make any promise. Don't quote me on that. But that's a lot of money too, right? So I don't want to make any promise again on that.
And another question, what might the on-campus parking situation look like?
So the question is what the parking situation would look like. I'm sorry, I wish I had all the answers today, but not yet, and it's going to take time. So as you know, it is an urban campus. So will be a different feel. The good thing is, as John mentioned earlier, we'll have light rails, around. We'll have buses that we'll be using even more, certainly. We'll need some parking at some point, for sure. I don't know how many stalls we'll have, where they will be, all of that. What I know, though, for sure, is that underground parking is very, very expensive. So that I don't know if it's going to be an option.
Right now, we do not have any more questions, Eric.
Okay. Okay. Apparently, we have no more questions.
Right now.
Right now.
That's good.
Do we have questions in the room, comments in the room, things that we would have forgotten, or would you like to add anything to my answers? No? Okay. Kyle?
All good.
No more? All good? Okay, so anyway, this session has been recorded, so everybody will be able to watch it. And please, please, please use the links to ask questions, to participate in our work groups. This is very important to us to be able to design our permanent home together. So I am sure we can accomplish a lot in these coming weeks before we go for our summer break. So once again, thank you so much to each and every one of you. This is an extremely exciting project. And as you said, Steve, I've been dreaming of this presentation for years. And here we are. That's the beginning of it. We have a lot to accomplish. And I know that our community is strong and supportive. So thank you so much in advance. And talk to you soon. Thank you. Au revoir.